right now who can't tell you what a woman is, but she can tell you exactly how she feels about your microaggression. There is a city in Michigan. I don't even want to say this is my home state anymore because I am so mortified and horrified. They're slaughtering goats in backyards while the governor is smiling for cameras. And there is a court that just decided Monsanto gets to spray cancer on your lawn because the EPA said it's fine. There is a president who won't sign a housing bill until Congress proves they actually care about election integrity, and half of America is losing their mind over it. I feel like you guys, welcome to the twilight zone of 2026, where common sense is a hate crime and mental illness is a personality type. If you're new here, I am Branden LaNette. This is Faith, Fire, God, and Country, and we're not going to be polite about this stuff. I just, you guys, before we get into it, of course, I'm going to tell you about Super Patch because it's what I use every single day. And if you've been listening to the Listen Bitch podcast, you know I don't just recommend stuff. Super Patch is a wearable patch that uses vibrotactile technology, zero drugs, no chemicals. F you, Big Pharma. This is just your nervous system doing what God designed it to do. The results speak for themselves. So please go to my link in the show notes and try it out, okay? If you need me to send you a pretty little list of what I have and what it does, I'm happy to do that. Peace patch is what I wear before every episode to kind of keep me calm. And podcasting makes me nervous, and I've been doing it for like 800 episodes and 4 years. So it's a little funny, but this peach patch is my go-to. Um, you guys can find my Listen Bitch podcast wherever you get your podcast as well. That is my flagship show. I next week will hit 600 plus episodes. Okay. Basically, there, if you're frustrated with the state of things, if welcome to the twilight zone, it can get excessive for you and you just need to be grounded on your mission, your journey. Listen Bitch is where you need to go. Okay, it's where I help you kind of get over yourself, unplug from the systems, and I even just teach you the awareness to see where the systems have a hold on you, because we have become useful idiots. But for today's show, and yes, I know you guys are like, whoa, 2 shows 1 week. I mean, that's how I started, and life got a little crazy. And my husband lit a little fire under my ass, and he's like, "You really need to get back to 2 shows." And I'm hoping to expand that. I talked to an incredible guest I had on my interview show. If you guys don't know about that, it is Listen Bitch Presents Tell Me Why You're Special. That show is just, first of all, that was a God made me do it. And I wasn't sure if I should do it. And it's been such a gift in my life. Getting to talk to incredible people every single day, different perspectives. Just it's incredible. It's incredible. So I got to talk to someone today, and he just kind of reminded me that this also needs to be a guest show. So if you're one of my listeners and you have a voice and you're frustrated, or maybe you disagree with me, I'm on I would be happy to have you on this show. Let's just rip the band-aid off and get someone on here. Uh I would say I don't bite, but even if I did, I can't reach you. It's a Zoom, right? Like you're protected by distance. I'm not going to call you into my house to do it in person. That's never, never. But you're safe if we do a Zoom. So just throwing that out there, you guys, and you can let me know your thoughts about it too. Um, let's start tonight's show in Alabama, where Governor Kay Ivey, y'all, she signed the Child Predator Death Penalty Act. She actually signed it in February of this year. It is finally going to be in effect October 1st of 2026. And this like would be the point of the show. If I had that cute little editing thing and I knew what I was doing, I would put hand claps right now. Like everybody just start clapping, because here's the thing. If you are convicted of first degree rape, first degree sodomy, or first degree sexual assault of a child under the age of 12, you're going to die. The House passed it 73-6. The Senate passed it 33-1. So let's say that again: 73-6 in the House, 33-1 in the Senate. You guys know what that means? Literally almost everyone agreed. across party lines, across everything. Because when you put a child in a room with a monster, there is no political disagreement about what that is. And this legislation came directly out of something that happened in Bibb County, Alabama last year. Eight eight individuals were arrested and charged with rape and trafficking and sexual torture of at least 10 kids they held captive. Some of those some of those victims were 3 years old. 3 years old. There is a Supreme Court case from 2008, Kennedy versus Louisiana, that said the death penalty for child rape was unconstitutional. Alabama lawmakers passed this knowing that. They want to fight it. They are ready for the war. They're going to drag it back in front of a Supreme Court because this Supreme Court looks a little different than it did in 2008. And they're going to make the argument again. And I think God bless them and back them and protects them on this journey. This is what I know to be true from scripture. Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." That is not a suggestion. It's a command. And a government that finally decides that the rape of a baby deserves the highest penalty, that is not barbaric. That is like the only sane response. And I want you to notice something. 73-6. And the 6 probably weren't voting no because they love children. They were voting no for political cover. Okay? It's for some technicality, maybe their slush fund, it's just for optics. There will always be someone who says the death penalty is too extreme, that we should extend grace to predators, that rehabilitation is possible. And you know what I say to that? Save that grace for somebody who didn't destroy a 3-year-old's body. I'm not even sorry about that. You won't see me walking that back. There is no rehabilitation that gives that baby her innocence back. There is no program that undoes what was done to those children in Bibb County. The only appropriate response is that the people who did it never breathe free air again. And in Alabama, starting this fall, some of them may not breathe at all. Alabama, we see you, we honor you, we're praying for you, and the rest of the country needs to take notes and catch up. Now, Michigan. Here, but my home state isn't really doing a lot better than Michigan is. I was born in Colorado, but I've been in Michigan for almost 18 years now. I think it's like 18 years this summer, actually. Wow, that's an incredibly long time. But let's talk about Michigan. And I say this as someone who lives here and loves it, even when it makes me want to pull my hair out. Okay. I love all 4 seasons. I mean, we just had a crazy hold up winter where I got a lot of work done. Now I'm slumming it on the beach reading books all week. So yes, I love my state. I think it's beautiful. We need some help though. A city of about 28,000 people just outside of Detroit, where as of 2023, the all Muslim city council voted 4-2 to legalize backyard animal slaughter for religious purposes. Goats, sheep in residential backyards in tight, dense neighborhoods. Even many Muslim residents in Hamtramck, I don't know how you pronounce it, they voted against it. They cited sanitary concerns, proximity, kids potentially witnessing it, community health. Multiple Muslim residents stood up at the meeting and said no, and the vote happened anyway. And remember, we're here in the state where the wretched Gretch, got caught on a mic saying she didn't care how people voted. They say no and they do it anyway. So I feel like here is everything. I'm a Christian. I do believe in religious freedom. The same freedom that lets me talk about Christ can let someone else practice their faith. And I believe that to my core. But what I also believe is that religious freedom is not a blank check. What's happening in Hamtramck is not really about religious freedom anymore. It's about a city government that has completely stopped representing the actual diversity of the residents in favor of serving one community's preferences over everyone else's. That is not pluralism. We have replaced one majority with another. And the same left that screams about the separation of church and state, that loses their ever-loving mind if a nativity scene goes up in a public park, has absolutely nothing to say about a city council voting to let people slaughter animals. And you guys know they're not just slaughtering animals, right? Trying to keep the show a little classy, but I know you guys have seen the viral videos going around of the kid who got busted with his pants down in a goat pen, okay? This is just what they do. Now they're slaughtering animals in their backyards because of religious tradition. The silence is deafening, and the hypocrisy, it's blinding. And if we connect this to something bigger, because Hamtramck didn't become this overnight, it happened through decades of unchecked immigration policy, political pandering, and a refusal to require assimilation into the basic standards of the communities people choose to join. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not anti-immigrant. I am pro-America. And if you want to live here, you don't get to reshape the community's basic standards because you have a voting majority now. Leviticus 18 says the land itself vomits out those who defile it. That's a spiritual principle and a civic one. When a community loses its foundation, when it loses its shared values that made it function, it doesn't become multicultural, it becomes unstable. In Michigan, we have a governor who is more concerned with her progressive credentials than the residents of Hamtramck who didn't want this. Where is Whitmer on this? Of course we can't find her. Of course we can't find her. And if we go national, yesterday the Supreme Court handed down a 7-2 decision in that Monsanto versus Durnell. The ruling says that Monsanto, now owned by Bayer, cannot be sued under state law for failing to warn consumers that Roundup might cause cancer. And the reasoning is that the EPA says it's safe. Federal law preempts state claims. End of discussion. John Durnell is a Missouri man who spent 20 years applying Roundup to parks in his neighborhood. He developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. A Missouri jury gave him $1.25 million. The Supreme Court just took it away. And this is what should make your blood boil. The study that the EPA relied on to say Roundup was safe, the study that just made it into the Supreme Court opinion, was ghostwritten by Monsanto. An investigative reporter found this. The EPA's determination, the one that now has the force of federal law, was written by the company whose product was being evaluated. The WHO, our good old World Health Organization's cancer research arm, classified glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, as a probable human carcinogen in 2015. The EPA, of course, they disagreed. Guess who was writing the EPA's materials? Shocker. 7 justices, including Sonia Sotomayor, who dissents on everything conservative, agreed with the ruling. Both Kavanaugh and Thomas were in the majority, and this is a bipartisan betrayal of ordinary people who got sick. 100,000 lawsuits, all gone. There is something deeply broken in a system where a corporation can essentially author the regulatory determination that then will shield them from any responsibility or accountability. And the highest court in the land says that's fine. That's not regulation. That's captured government serving corporate masters, while the man who spent 2 decades trusting a product in a store on a shelf, he's dying of lymphoma. Yeah, the legal issue is complicated. Blah, blah, blah. The federal pesticide law does say federal labeling requirements preempt state law. That's a real legal principle. I get that. Monsanto didn't invent that, but the dissenters, Jackson and Gorsuch, argued that adding a warning doesn't conflict with federal law, and they have a point. Here's what's not complicated. We're spraying glyphosate on everything. Our kids are playing on fields treated with it. It's in our food supply. The question of whether it causes cancer has never been honestly investigated independent of the company that sells it, and now the legal avenue for holding anyone accountable, it's gone. Isaiah 10 says, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people." That is what happened. And most people won't even know anything about it because they're arguing about what's the topic this week? A soccer game, right? Right? Let's talk about my president, Mr. Donald Trump. 2 days ago, he canceled the signing of the 21st Century Road to Housing Act at the last minute. He was supposed to sign it at noon on Capitol Hill that day, a bipartisan bill that passed the House 358 to 32, designed to increase housing supply, cap what private equity can buy in a single family home, and make housing more affordable. He canceled it because the Senate hasn't passed the Save America Act. Let's make it very clear. This is going to require photo ID and proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Trump called it a national emergency and said he's not signing anything else until Congress gets it done. Oh, I think that's fair. We've been trying to get this passed for how long now? And it's just common sense. And the thing that gets me is that this is federal elections. And what's really upsetting is what about the local? How are we going to protect that? Look what happened to Spencer Pratt in California. That is crazy to me. Very obvious, a little cheat. Okay. But anyway, now the left is screaming that Trump doesn't care about housing costs. Democrats who oppose voter ID for years are suddenly the champions of the working family who can't afford a home. What do I think about this? Trump is doing something that politicians never do. He is using his leverage in a principled and consistent way. The SAVE Act is not just a fringe idea. Polling consistently shows the overwhelming majority of Americans, including most Democrats, when asked directly, support photo ID to vote. It's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in these elections, in the federal elections. This bill is just enforcing what the law already says, and it adds a documentation step that every other serious democracy on earth already requires. If the Democrats won't vote for it, I say ask yourself why. If they genuinely believe requiring ID to vote is suppression, then they also believe requiring ID to drive or to buy alcohol or to board a plane or to get a bank account, that's also suppression. And if they believe that, earth to liberals, the truth is they're not living in reality. Trump held up the housing bill. Yeah, it's controversial, it's messy. But when the president of the United States says he considers a free and fair election a national emergency, that's not a distraction. And you guys look for the proof and truth of why he's doing that. We've seen them being rigged. This is the ball game. If you can't secure the ballot, nothing else you build stays built. Now, his own House Speaker, we've got Johnson, he said the path is through reconciliation. That's a long process. The Senate doesn't have 60 votes. Thune, okay, says they can't eliminate the filibuster. So we're in a standoff. And I don't know, Thune has proven to not be the stand-up guy. Also, I mean, we have a vice president that could step in as well. And I don't know how I feel about that still. I don't know what the holdup is. But this is the thing. This is where I land. The housing bill will get signed eventually. Trump's own team confirmed it within 10 days. But the moment, the pressure point, the leverage point, that is a man who said, I'm not going to let this one go just because it's politically inconvenient. I respect that, even when the timing sucks. Romans 13 says the authorities that exist have been established by God. That does not mean every government action is righteous. It means we engage, we push, we hold people accountable. An unselected president using constitutional leverage to force a vote on election integrity is operating within his authority, whether you like it or not, whether you like the outcome or not. And there is, just something that's been sitting on me because these news stories are really just the surface. And I feel like the disease under all of this is something so much bigger. Justice Clarence Thomas put out a concurring opinion recently that said progressivism is a threat to America. And I know how that lands. I know half the country, not even half, it's less than half. I know they hear that and they call it dangerous rhetoric. But listen, because the Antichrist post, okay, this is the truth. He's not going to look evil. He's going to look compassionate. He's going to look intelligent. The text says this. Exactly what a desperate world has been looking for. He's going to be beautiful, offering peace and safety and answers through lies. And I've been thinking about that for a while, okay? That is a description of the progressive movement right now. I'm not saying the Antichrist is a Democrat. Well, am I not saying that? I think I'm saying that. I'm saying the spirit of deception described in the scripture, in the text, doesn't announce itself as evil. It just doesn't. It wraps itself in the compassion language. It calls itself the protector of the marginalized. It promises safety and answers. And then it dismantles every structure that actually holds life together, like the family, the church, the nation, the concept of objective truth, and calls anyone who notices a bigot. 2 Thessalonians 2 describes the man of lawlessness as one who sets himself up against everything that is called God. And it says, before he is revealed, there will come a great falling away, not a falling away from church attendance, a falling away from the knowledge of what is true. A falling away from the knowledge of what is true. We are in that falling away right now. What is true? What is a woman? What is true? There's a lot of truths that are broken. Mental health awareness has become mental illness. Like, this is an identity. Mental illness is identity. Empathy has become a weapon, and accountability has become violence. A generation was told that the highest virtue is to feel, and that anyone who asks you to think or function or take responsibility is hurting you. The useful idiot, the person who carries water for a movement they don't fully understand, who parrots the language because it makes them feel like they belong, who has been so convinced that their feelings are facts and they cannot hold a conversation that challenges them. That is not a crazy person. That is a person who was spiritually abandoned by a culture that stopped telling them the truth. And I'm talking to you if you're that person, because I've been that person. Not for long, not in the same way, but I know what it feels like to adopt a language and a worldview because it felt like belonging. And I know what it feels like when the truth finally gets loud enough to break through. I know what it is to stand up for the truth and what the world is going to do to you. And the truth is, you cannot feel your way to health. The truth is that accountability is not oppression. The truth is that being uncomfortable is not the same as being in danger. The truth is that somebody has to be the adult in the room. And if every single institution we trusted has failed at that job, it falls to us, to the people who actually love this country, to the people who are not willing to burn it down in the name of equity. And then there's your kids. So I could not, there's some things I could fact check and things I couldn't. But I saw some things going around about vaccinated children being flagged for heart risk before athletic participation. Um, and I don't want to be reckless about that. I just want you guys to ask the question, because I'm asking the question, is that really true? I can't find anybody I could talk to that verified that, yes, I saw this in person. It's just things I saw when I was doing a deep dive online, and some conversation threads of hearsay. So if you're someone who knows the truth in this, I would love to have some fact check here. But what I do know to be true is that the American Heart Association, the American College of Cardiology, issued guidance saying that any child diagnosed with that myocarditis, the heart inflammation after COVID-19 vaccine, which is a lot of people, they have to wait 3 to 6 months before returning to athletics. So there is some guidance there, and there's a whole thing there. So these kids really did get jacked up with this. The peak myocarditis rate from the original vaccines hit approximately 38 cases per million doses in males ages 16 to 17 after the second shot. The CDC did confirm this data. I did find that they did that in 2025. So that's not a conspiracy. I found the truth there. It is documented federal health data that parents were not loudly warned about in 2021 when they were being told the vaccine was completely safe for their kids with no asterisk and no nuance. Okay. This is what wrecks me, is all these parents that line up, and how many people do we see on social media now still bragging like an FU to Trump and an FU to Kennedy, where they're just like, oh, I got my vaccine. Whatever. Like, they're bragging about it when the truth has come out and they just can't even see it. It's crazy. But like, even parents who vaccinate their babies with the series of shots that have proven to be an issue too, they trust the system. And they did what they were told because they were told that love looks like compliance. And some of these kids, not most, not all, but some really ended up with heart inflammation. And the guidance that came out in response said wait 6 months before they play ball. Not from the doctor's office on a case-by-case basis, as a general precaution for any kid who presented with it. That's the conversation that was owed to every parent before the shot went into their kids' arms, not after. Okay, crimes against humanity. Hello, we're calling you now. We want to press charges on some people. And yeah, there's something that makes me very unpopular with both sides of the argument. I'm not here to tell you what to do about your kids' medical decisions. That's, come on, you guys, that's fine. Between you, your doctor, I made choices for my kids, anti vaxxer, for 24 years now. But I will tell you that the weaponization of the phrase trust the science is one of the most anti science things that have happened since the pandemic. Science is questioned, science is challenged. That's the whole thing. Can we come up with a hypothesis? Can we challenge this? Science is following data even when it leads somewhere inconvenient. Ooh, it's going to cost them money. The data on the myocarditis risk in adolescents male, that was real. The conversation was suppressed. Parents deserve better. And if a school or a doctor's office is now flagging kids for this screening before sports, that's not fear mongering. That's due diligence that should have happened before 2021. Proverbs 27:6 says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. They multiplied kisses. They told you what you wanted to hear in the language of care and compassion and emergency, and some of your kids paid a price for it. That's a wound from the devil pretending to be your friend. Who's the Antichrist? Ask the questions. Please do your research. And by research, I don't mean go to your doctor's office and do the research there. Go separate on your own. You can't go to a biased person and ask them, because they're going to tell you exactly what they want you to hear so they can continue to line their pockets with whatever they're going to do. Hold these institutions accountable. Never again let the government or a pharmaceutical company or a school board or a political movement or a social media algorithm be the final word on what you put in your kid's body. I genuinely believe that everything I talk about on the show, all of it, all of this mess, I feel like it traces back to the same root. A generation, maybe two, that was separated from the knowledge of God, not necessarily from church, but from God, from truth, from the knowledge that there's a standard above public opinion, above popular culture, above whatever is trending on TikTok this week. And that standard does not change because you feel strongly about your position. Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You guys, we are not starved for information. There is not a lack of information. We are struggling with a lack of knowledge. And knowledge in the Hebrew sense of that word is intimate. It is relationship. It is the kind of knowing that changes you, the kind of knowing that disciplines you, the kind of knowing that holds you when you want to fall apart, but also refuses to let you fall apart into a pile of feelings with no stronghold. I need you to understand that common sense is not an accident. It doesn't just emerge from a vacuum. Common sense is the residue of a culture built on truth, on consequence, on the idea that actions have outcomes and that those outcomes are your responsibility. When you strip God out of the center of a culture, common sense goes with him. What replaces it is a feelings-based governance, and that's exactly what we're living in. I am not giving up on this country. I'm not giving up on you, but I'm done pretending that polite engagement with people dismantling everything that holds this together is going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. What fixes it is you waking the hell up. You pull your kids out of the systems that are failing them. You showing up in your city council meetings. You asking the hard questions of your doctors. You refusing to let the word extremist shut down your logic. You are not extreme for wanting to protect children from predators. You are not extreme for thinking that your backyard neighborhood should maintain basic sanitary standards. You're not extreme for asking what's in the product you've been spraying on your lawn for 30 years. You are not extreme for believing that the person who shows up to vote should be the person they say they are with a little picture proof. The only extreme about you is that you're still paying attention. Don't stop. Luke 12, Jesus is speaking. He says, nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. Every study that was ghost written, every risk that was buried, every vote that was cast in the dark, every deal that was made in rooms we were never allowed into, every name on every list that we were told doesn't exist. It is coming to light, not because the media decided to cover it, not because the government decided to be honest, but because God said so. The light always wins, and the darkness is loud right now, but loud does not mean winning. I need you to stay in the fight long enough to see what God is about to do in this nation when his people stop being cowards and start being the remnant he called them to be. I love the country the way you love a parent. You don't leave just because you're sick. You get loud, you fight, you tell the truth even when it costs you because you remember what they were and you refuse to let that go without a battle. And if you're going to come to the United States of America, if you're going to live in the United States of America, you can't be here and hate this country. That's like staying in your parents' basement and hating your parents, but you're going to live there anyway. Like, you can leave at any time. If you hate America, if you love these countries so much that you're virtue signaling, take your hard earned money and go over there and pay your taxes there. Get into the communities there. Why would you stay here where you're so angry and so full of hate and so just run by emotion? No, nothing deserves that much of your energy. Nothing. And I just feel like what is going to be your life purpose? What is your life purpose in 2 years when Trump is done? What is your life purpose? Like, what are you going to be angry about then? Or is it that he will carry the blame for the next generation to come? That you'll continue to tell your kids about this horrible monster that tried to put our country back together, that ripped down old institutions and put a big dent in the elite systems that are designed to use you as a useful idiot. You guys, that's it. This is not the end of America. This is a test. I intend to pass it. I do hope you come with me. And look, if you if you have made it this far in this episode and you still think I'm wrong, I genuinely want to know why. Not because I'm going to change my mind about child predators deserving the death penalty or parents deserving the truth about what they put in their kids' arms. I'm not going to, but I want you here. I want you in the conversation because the only way common sense becomes common again is if we stop preaching only to each other and start making enough noise that the people who've been sleeping in the middle finally wake up. The truth doesn't need your protection. It just needs the people who are willing to say it. And I love that there's so many of you guys that get into my inbox, and I've had more of these messages. I should give credit to that because when I get the hate messages, when I get the messages of people telling me go kill myself, I'm a bigot, I'm a racist, I'm a homophobe, I'm all of these things. I mean, there's the names, I don't even remember what I'm called half the time. I've always brought that to light. And lately, I do get a lot of messages of people saying, we need more people like you to speak up. Thank you for doing this. And like every time I get that message, I look at their platform and they're not speaking up. I love the gratitude that you guys can recognize I'm doing something, but I'm doing it so you'll join me. I'm doing it so you'll speak out too. We just have to speak the truth. And I will keep saying it every single week. I'm going to keep speaking the truth and I'm going to keep speaking the common sense and I'm going to continue to call out the mental health crisis that is in the United States of America. I love this country and I just want to have a conversation with other people who do too, whether you agree with me or not. Let's keep speaking the truth and bring people into this conversation. God, country, faith, fire. I'll see you guys next week.